We're in Miami Gardens for a World Cup quarterfinal that highlights the extreme contrast between two different philosophies of winning. Norway reached this stage by knocking out Brazil, maintaining their status as the only national team in history to never lose to the five-time champions. That 2-1 victory was secured by Erling Haaland, who scored twice in the closing minutes to completely dismantle the Brazilian defense. England's path was far less definitive. They barely survived a chaotic 3-2 match against Mexico, looking vulnerable for most of the 90 minutes. Jude Bellingham was the only reason they avoided an early exit, scoring 2 rapid goals to pull the team back from the brink of elimination. This matchup proves that historical reputation doesn't win matches in 2026. If you can't defend against a high-speed counterattack, your pedigree won't save you.
For England, every tournament is haunted by 1966, their only World Cup victory, and the standard every subsequent squad is measured against. The current roster is facing more pressure than most, as they are widely viewed as the most talented collection of English players in the last 60 years. That weight is only made heavier by the heartbreak of reaching and losing consecutive European Championship finals in 2020 and 2024. Thomas Tuchel was hired specifically to manage this burden. His objective is to turn this individual talent into a functional championship system. His approach focuses on heavy possession and tactical complexity, a style that looks very different from the English teams of previous eras. But there is a structural problem. England's reliance on dominating the ball creates the exact conditions of open space that Norway is designed to exploit. Norway's coach, Ståle Solbakken, uses a philosophy built on physicality and direct, aggressive counterattacks. Their tactical flow is concentrated. Almost every forward transition is funneled through their creative engine, Martin Odegaard. The goal is simple: find Odegaard, who then immediately looks to launch the ball toward Erling Haaland. This data shows efficiency. Norway values expected goals per pass over possession, moving from defense to striker in 2 movements. They require fewer touches to shoot than any other team. It works because Haaland reaches 36 kilometers per hour. However, there is a risk. If the opponent can neutralize the midfield playmaker, the striker becomes isolated, forcing the rest of the team to defend for the entire match. Norway's strategy doesn't rely on controlling the clock. Instead, it's built on the probability that an aggressive opponent will eventually leave a gap in their defensive transition. England counters this with a 4-2-3-1 structure, designed to physically suffocate opponents in their own half. Their attacking midfielders operate by pinching inward, overloading the central zones to break down teams that sit deep in defense. Harry Kane is essential here. He's a striker who drops deep into the midfield, acting as a link that holds this entire possession engine together. But this high-pressure setup leaves the defense exposed. To maintain this much control in the midfield, England has to play with an extremely high defensive line. While Tuchel's system allows England to dictate the game, it inherently concedes huge amounts of space behind the center backs. This match will be won or lost in the central third of the pitch. Declan Rice will likely be tasked with man-marking Martin Odegaard to shut down Norway's primary source of distribution. This creates a cascading effect. When a defensive midfielder follows a roaming playmaker, they are pulled out of position, leaving a structural gap behind them. That gap becomes a vacant, undefended territory right in the heart of the midfield. This is the space Jude Bellingham exploits, using it to make late runs from deep into the penalty area. But the risk is high. If Odegaard manages to turn and beat Rice's press, Norway can run directly at a backline that has no midfield cover. Whoever wins this specific one-on-one battle will ultimately decide which team's strikers actually get the service they need. Even if the ground game is even, Haaland offers a massive physical challenge. His 6'4" frame and aerial power are difficult for any defender to match. Contrast that with John Stones. He is a world-class ball player, but he lacks the raw physical size and power that Haaland brings to every duel. The mismatch is visible when we chart sprint pace against aerial win rates for the 2 squads. Haaland is an extreme outlier in the top right corner. England's defensive line is grouped much lower, showing a clear disparity in both speed and physical dominance. This means every set piece or long ball becomes a systemic threat that can bypass England's midfield control entirely. By looking at the actual tournament data for both teams, we can build a model for the most likely game script. The statistical baseline is that England will dominate the ball, likely holding more than 60% possession. If England scores early, Norway is forced to move out of their defensive block, which historically gives Tuchel's possession system a massive advantage. However, if the match is tied at the half, the danger for England increases. As they push more players forward to find a winner, Norway's transition game becomes more effective. Based on Haaland's conversion metrics, he only requires 2 clean transition opportunities to change the game entirely, leading to this high-variance outcome. In this stage of the tournament, individual match winners often matter more than total roster depth. This means that the longer the match remains tied, the more the statistical probability shifts in Norway's favor. England's path requires clinical efficiency up front. They need to score early to break Norway's defensive organization. Norway's path is about patience. They have to absorb the pressure and trust that their transition threat will pay off when England's high line inevitably leaves a gap. The tactical question is whether Tuchel's system can finally deliver a trophy, or if Norway's counter-attacking efficiency will produce another major tournament upset. Weigh the tactical trade-offs for yourself. Leave your predictions in the comments, and subscribe for our full post-match breakdown.